Good afternoon and welcome to Uganda Child Rights Engine Network. My name is Damon Wamara and I'm joining you right from the offices of Uganda Child Rights Engine Network. And this afternoon I'm joined by a seasoned child rights protection person, and I'll let her introduce herself.
My name is Caroline Bankusha. I'm a child rights advocate and yes, a child protection trainer and researcher. I'm glad to be here. A very good afternoon to you all.
And this is our first time. You're very welcome, and this is our first time to actually have this conversation. So we are honored to have you.
Thank you.
As our first visitor to this conversation.
So this is the maiden show.
This is the maiden show.
Thank you very much.
And we are hoping that we will launch this studio where we are seated and be able to have more conversations. The whole essence of having this conversation is for us to continue our region, in our continent, and even at international level. And we're looking at the well-being of the child. We're looking and conversing about the protection of children,
yes,
and the safeguarding of children. And this afternoon, we're here to talk about the state of children in our country, Uganda. And we're looking at specifically the right to protection. And we will be dwelling and coming to that point when we get there. Yeah. And probably just to help us understand where all this originates from, could you please share with us, where does this whole conversation of child rights begin from?
Yes, where does it begin from? The rights of children. Children are human beings, right? As any other person, yeah. People that are adults. So the rights of children emanate from the fact that they are human beings and we have human rights globally. And we also have global instruments that address the issues of human rights. From that instrument, for example, the Universal Declaration on Human Rights,
yes,
we after that have other sets of rights, such as the women's rights, we have rights of persons with disabilities, we have rights of the elderly, and then we come to the children's rights. The children's rights are confined in the UNCRC, that's the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Children. That treaty guides state parties on how to address the issues of children within their own settings. But before the state parties come on board, we also have treaties to do with the continents. For the sake of Africa, we have the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of Children. Mm-hmm. And so that charter as well guides us on the protection of children. Yes.
And what is the difference between the Convention on the Rights of the Child and the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of Children? Because I think in the whole world, Africa is the only one that has a different, unique charter that is designed for children. When you look at Europe, the West, the Americans and all that, it's only Africa that has such a charter.
Yes, the UNCRC, the Convention on the Rights of the Child, is global.
Yes.
It's global, where you have state parties coming together to sign a treaty on what they understand and what they will respond to in terms of the rights of children. And then Africa found it best to have their own customized charter, to have our own customized charter with local traditions, cultures, and beliefs, not simply responding to what the international community had agreed upon, yeah, but trying to customize what suits best in our own tradition as Africans. I also understand there could be other smaller treaties, maybe not on continental basis. There could be other smaller treaties, maybe sub-regions elsewhere in the world, but the one for Africa stands out very, very
prominent.
Yes, yes.
And it is widely accepted by majority of the African countries, African states.
Yes.
I think we, out of the whole continent, we only have about 4 or 5 African states that have never ascended to that treaty, that charter, while the majority of the African countries are committed to it.
What is interesting and very important for us at the moment is that Uganda is a signatory, definitely, to the African Charter, and the East African states are as well. Because as we get into the movement of East African community, we need to recognize the neighbors around us. So the East African community states are all signatories to the African Charter.
Apart from South Sudan. South Sudan has not yet accepted.
Yes.
But they are in the process of having them ascended too. They have ascended to now, because they're the youngest state in Africa. They have just ascended only to the UNCRC. And congratulations to them. They have actually also submitted their first periodic report to the UNCRC. So at least they're making headway, and we know that they are in the process of also submitting to they also yet to ascend and to the African Charter.
Yeah, I think I usually tend to forget that South Sudan is part of EAC, and now DRC as well.
Now DRC is coming on board.
Yes, but then the traditional East African countries are a signatory. So that's great for us. And what does it help us? I mean, it helps us to ensure that we observe the rights of children as a country, as a bloc.
So when we talk about, if you can just go back, when we talk about the rights of the child, the Convention to the rights of the UNCRC and to the African Charter, which is derived from the UNCRC, what are the core principles? What are those things that the Convention says these are non-negotiables? Every state has to have these core principles.
Must adhere to them. For example, non-discrimination, survival and development, best interest of the child, very, very important.
And that's the one many people end up abusing and saying, I'm doing this for the best interest of the child.
For the best interest of the child. There is one more, I think. There is one more.
Survival,
yes, survival. So those core principles are very, very key in ensuring that we all adhere.
And child participation.
And participation, that's listening to the views of the child. Yes. So they are very key in ensuring that we adhere to the Convention on the Rights of the Child.
Wow. And the conversation is still going on, and if you want to join us, you can drop your chat and on what you think about the rights of children. You can just drop your chat there, tell us, and if you are even live and you're already watching us, feel free to throw in a question. My team at the back is ready to share with me the questions that you may have for Carol here when it comes to talking about the right of the protection of the children. So, Carol, let's just bring the conversation now to our country, Uganda. How exactly has Uganda adhered to the African Charter on the Rights and the Welfare of the Child and the UNCRC? What are the signs that we can say at least Uganda is making progress in that area?
First of all, as Uganda, we boast, and rightly so, of the existence of legal provisions, policies and laws as a country. Our own Children's Act, as amended 2016, is a big indicator that we are committed to fulfilling the rights of children. As a law, it is chapter 59 of the laws of Uganda, so we have that one. We also have other policies, such as the National Child Policy.
We also have the National Children's Child Participation Policy also, strategy. We also have a strategy on ending child marriages. It is just being on its final stages for the new one to be reviewed.
We have the Nutrition Act. We have the Education Act. So all these are indicators that we are committed to ensuring that the rights of children are actually observed. Then we also have at central government level, we have the Uganda Parliamentary Forum for Children, at parliamentary level, and then a full ministry that handles the issues of the rights of children, the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. And yes, I think we are so rich in that area. We are committed to ensuring that we protect the rights of children as a country.
So there is evidence progress that Uganda is not seated and doing nothing. We are actually trying our best to ensure that children in our care and in our state are protected.
We also have a conducive policy environment that allows civil society to operate as long as they are able to adhere to the regulations.
Well, that can be debatable, and maybe it's another conversation for another time.
Yeah, but we should be able to acknowledge that the space
they at least allow us to exist.
Yes,
that's true. That's true. So let's just rewind back a bit. When we talk about the rights of the child, there are four things that we anchor on and engage on as a country to see the well-being and for us to fulfill the rights. What are those four things that we anchor on child rights?
Yes, we have the broad categories.
Yes.
Broad categories under child rights. We have still, they're a little similar to the principles of the UNCRC.
Yeah.
We have protection as a category. We have survival as a category. We also have child participation as a category. There is one more. Development.
Yes,
development rights. Development rights, and under development rights is where you find the issues of education for children. Many times, you know what, Damon, you can never talk about rights of children without talking about children being educated. Children enrolling in school, children remaining in school, and then children completing school. I'm so passionate about the education.
That will be another conversation. We'll bring you back to that conversation. But if we can just talk about the right to protection. What is the state of the right to protection? Last week, the last time we were having a conversation here with a colleague of mine in USRNN, we were talking about the whole aspect of the violence against children that exists in the country, with the YouTube videos that were going around and all that. What is the state of the right to protection, the child's right to protection in our country?
Okay, maybe as a precursor, and what is protecting the child, by the way? What is child protection? Child protection is ensuring that we restore hope for our children. It is ensuring that we create an enabling environment.
Yes.
It is ensuring that we uphold the rights of children and make them a reality. Such that when we are talking about education for the child, or medication for the child, or justice for the child, we actually make sure that it is realized, and not merely having policy on paper, but having these policies realized. So in a nutshell, that is child protection, or protecting our children as a country. We need also to be reminded that as a country, over 50% of the population comprises children. And therefore, we have a tall order ahead of us, because if we have more than half of the population comprising children, then we really have a huge task ahead of us. And where is the task? The task is in ensuring that we protect our children. However, we still have some challenges, some hindrances. Just look at the issue of violence against children. It is so huge that almost more than half the number of children are being violated. Physically, sexually, emotionally, and all that. So we are not yet there in making sure that all our children are protected. We still have a huge gap that we have to bridge at the national level.
You know, when you talk about that and you quickly say that the violence against children is on the increase, I know for a fact that Uganda is a pathfinder country on ending all forms of violence against children, which we applaud the government on.
Yes.
But I just need to ask this question. In your own view, do you really think the government has done enough to protect children? Are we there yet? Are we satisfied enough to say we have done?
Again,
I was going to use Uganda, then I said let me not kill the Kabaka's language.
Again, the word enough is also a tall order. But I think government and its partners are trying their best to ensure that our children are not violated. And like we said before, the existence of the policies is one indicator. And then probably putting in place duty bearers that make sure that the policies are implemented is also another. And then a budgetary allocation to the service sector.
Now that's where personally I have an issue.
Is also an indicator of the commitment of government, much as it might still be very inadequate. And that is where we are experiencing the violations against children. Because take this example, if in a particular community children are grossly abused, the response to reach out to those children,
withdraw them and protect them.
Yes, is still very slow. And why? It's because of the financial muscle, the low financial muscle to reach out to those children. Not forgetting, Damon, that we are operating in a decentralized environment. Yes.
Where the powers are not with the central government, they have been given to the local councils.
Yes.
And when you talk about that, if you ask me personally, I'll tell you, government has done what they should do. The government has, as the state nation, in the sense that it has ensured that the laws are there to protect children, that we have good systems in place, able systems. Let me use the word able systems that should be responsive and are able to engage. Look at the fact that we have in existence the social welfare and probation officer. We have the CDOs.
Yes.
We have the laws that clearly state that each sub-county has a vice chairperson who is in charge of the well-being of the children. So every village has a representative that is supposed to be thinking about the well-being of the children. And then we also, by declaration, have it known that there are some non-negotiables. For example, trafficking a child, you get life sentence. For example, defilement, when you have spread HIV to the child, you get also the life sentence. You know, it's aggravated. There are all those conditions that have been set by the government and the legislators to show that, look, we do not conform to this form of violence. We are against this form of violence. But where do we miss it? Where do we miss the point in protecting children?
You also have missed to mention police stations.
Police stations are the CFPOs, yes.
Yes, police posts almost everywhere. Yes. In very many districts now we have the parasocial workers, right? We also have trained child rights activists, right? And all these efforts.
The Ministry of Health will also tell you we have VHTs at the village levels.
Yes. All these efforts are aimed at ensuring that that there is someone reaching out to the child. So much as that one is not at a certain level where we shall say, okay, I think now we are comfortable about that, then we also have the drivers. We have the drivers to vulnerability, the drivers that contribute to perpetrators of violence to the children. Take the example of alcohol. I don't know, Uganda is ranked Uganda is ranked, is it number 3 now? I'm
of
not
the
very
happiest
sure.
of the happiest people in the country. What makes us happy? That's another form of discussion.
So there are those drivers
Yes.
that are really overwhelming the system. They overwhelm the system.
Like poverty.
Even household poverty. Yes.
You know, I prefer to also talk about the poverty of the mind, where people think they are poor, when what they have around them can be able to produce some form of food and survival for their families. Then you've talked about alcohol. Then there is also the high crime
absentee
rate.
parents. Absentee parents.
Parenting.
Yes, parenting is very low.
Yeah.
It's very low. So you find that probably we have these drivers that overwhelm the system. The system has been put in place, much as it may not be speaking to each other, but the drivers are really overwhelming the systems.
Yes. Let's first talk about parenting there. When you talk about protection, in my view, the first point of protection is not actually at the state level.
It's the family.
It's the family.
It's the family.
And how is the state of the family?
As a basic unit, the family is the first protector of the child,
yes,
like you've just said. And you will find that almost every child in this country has a family where they belong to. Even when this family is institutionalized, you know, that is the family of the child. But what is the state?
And even culturally, there is no child who's supposed to be an orphan in all our cultures.
Of course.
As culture, although the cultures are degrading, but culturally, the child belongs to a clan. The child belongs to someone. And there's no child who belongs to no one.
So the pride of this country would have been the families where these children are born.
Exactly.
But the families have neglected the children. The families have become families on the move, parents on the move, and when they are on the move, they leave their children behind, you know. Parents have become absentees. They end up coming back at night to their own children, and children never see them. So when do they ever play this parenting role? It's just very, very disturbing.
And they hand over the responsibility to the house help.
And sometimes it's the parents themselves who end up abusing the children. They are violating them. They are sexually abusing them. They are harassing them. They are battering their own children. So, at the end of it all, it fails the state. It fails the duty bearers. It is
so
something
the policies are in place, the people are in place. Although there's not money to follow up the cases, we leave that on the side. It has its shortfalls, but the core protection place is not in place.
It's not. It's not functional.
It's not functional.
Yes, it's not functional, and that is a very big hindrance to the promotion of rights of children in this country.
In your view, in your expert view as a child protection specialist, what does that speak for our future?
It should be able to speak for us now. Damon, that should not wait. That should not wait. I know we now have the national parenting guidelines in place.
Yes.
But God, I have participated in the writing, the formation of those guidelines. But I'm always saying, God, why should we teach parents how to parent?
It's even in our law.
It's shameful.
It's even in the law. It's even in the Children's Act as amended that the government shall put in place parenting guidelines, reports, training, and all that. The thing is that we lost our training, our grooming, like you're saying, absentee parents. And so we have learned that our parents were absent, so we also become absent.
We have mammals protecting their children, their offsprings, you know?
Yes.
We have birds protecting their offsprings.
Yes.
But human beings, it's a problem. Of course,
even trees protect their seedlings. They first cover the seedlings, and when the seedlings are strong enough, they come out on their own.
So as human beings, we should go back to that state. We should go back to that state. And who teaches a tree to protect the seedlings? It's just natural. So even for human beings, for parents, it should be a natural instinct that I have a child, in whatever situation, I should be able to protect my offspring.
And it's in that sense of natural protection that a parent will tell you, I am the one who produced this kid. I went through labor. I am not about to give up on disciplining my child. I will cane my child, and you will not stop me. It is on those grounds that they come and tell you, I'm disciplining my child, now you want to take it away from me.
So why have we forgotten the issue of children being raised by the whole village? I myself was not raised by my biological parents, right? But I was nurtured by the whole community, by the people that were close to my parents.
Yes.
They had. So let's go back to that. And if we do that, then you, who says you're the biological parent of this child, you will not say that you have a right to do anything to your child. Why do you hurt your child? Why don't you hurt yourself, for example?
I'm not hurting my child, I'm disciplining my child.
But you are hurting. Discipline in form of hurting is not good. Your discipline should be in terms of positive parenting.
Positive parenting.
Positive parenting.
That's a big word. What we mean by positive parenting?
We should have started first from the parenting issue,
yes.
Right? Then we can come to positive parenting. So probably that demon should be something for next time.
Our next conversation will be on that.
Yes.
What are our takeaways in terms of the state of children in Uganda, in terms of protecting them? What are our takeaways? What should we do to ensure that our children, wherever they are, and we haven't even talked about children in refugee settings, we haven't talked about children on the streets and other forms of vulnerability where children are, but what should be our takeaway? That wherever a child is, they should feel protected.
Our own Ugandan Children's Act empowers all adults in every community to be protective of the children in their spaces.
That's very important.
And so we should also be mindful about the disadvantaged communities, the refugee communities, the displaced communities, the communities that are really prone to disaster, you know. And even in this discussion, we haven't talked about the pandemic, but there are other disasters. So we should go back to that saying and practice that every adult person in the community is responsible for the children within their area.
Ladies and gentlemen, our right to protection is very important, and ensuring that also the children are protected is not anyone's responsibility but our responsibility as adults. We need to ensure that children are protected wherever they are, whatever state they are. You need to ensure that your child is protected. You've heard it from Carol. The community needs to come back, and each adult needs to take charge of protecting any child wherever they are. We have been here at the UCRNN studios, and we've been talking about the state of children in Uganda, particularly the children's access to protection and ensure that they're protected. Our conversation has been cut short because of time, but we will be back next time. We'll still have the conversation, and hopefully Carol will accept to come back to the studio and have such a lovely conversation with us. We're checking out right now, and thank you for tuning in.
Thank you too.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Yeah.